Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Young Hustlers here on the Cardone Zone. Every Thursday, noon, East Coast Standard Time. You can catch this show live on Grant Cardone TV, on Facebook, on YouTube, or you can just listen to the podcast. Either way, appreciate you being here today. Great topic. I think a lot of you are going to be interested in this. How to bank your first million. How to make your first $1 million. This is a topic for me that I've been able to participate in. I've gotten to learn from, arguably the greatest educator in the space on how to create money, create wealth, and I hope that you can take the information from the show today and put it to work, and it can do for you what it's done for me. It's not as hard as it sounds. I can tell you that first, just like a notice. Number one, it's not as hard as it sounds to make your first $1 million. And number two, $1 million ain't shit. Like when you get to $1 million, your first reaction is, I don't have enough money. It's not enough. A guy that I know, he got $10 million. Company sold. His cash out was $10 million, and I think he's about 40 years old. And he said, you know what, man? $10 million sounds like a lot of money, but when you start doing the math, it's not enough to stop working. Like, it's not he's got 2 or 3 kids. You go on a vacation, you live in a nice house. Like, before you know it, that money's gone. So, I'm going to tell you that you need to tell you what you need to do in order to bank your first $1 million, but what you need to do is you need to start thinking much bigger than that. I truly think the big number is 100 million. I think once you get to 100 million, you start creating the generational wealth effect. I could be overstating it, but I always like to be on the conservative side. If that number is really 20 and I get to 40, I'm good with that. So how to bank your first $1 million. I'm talking from personal experience today. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did, the steps I followed in order to bank my first $1 million. I did not create this. I did not make it up. I'm speaking from experience, and I'm teaching you exactly what Grant taught me that helped me get to my first $1 million and beyond. So step one, first of all, if you have questions on how to bank your first $1 million, please call 305-865-8668. We already got 3 callers because I know it's a hot topic today. Making money, man. Money is the most important thing in your life. I mean, love and family and friendships and all that stuff, meaningful relationships, they're all great. But at the end of the day, bills show up. Rent is due. Mortgage is due. Student loans need to be paid. Car needs to be paid for. Money is the underlying thing that makes this whole life happen. Unless you want to be a nomad or you want to go down and live on the beach inside the jungles of Costa Rica in a tent or something like that. Maybe then if that's your life goal, then maybe money won't be as important. Live off the land. But for everybody else, money is going to be important, and money can cause a ton of stress in your life. And it can make a lot of things easier when you have it. So I want to make sure that you guys get to a point where you have cushion, where you have confidence, and where you have a shot at having some freedom, and most importantly, the ability to pass on legacy wealth to future generations. That's my goal. I want future generations to look back and go, hey, your great-grandpa Jared, he did something. Are you thinking of that picture, Natalie, the old face picture? Yeah. I look like a nice old man, apparently. I want, your great grandpa Jared, years ago, 50 years ago, he busted his ass. He made good decisions. He started investing, and he created this wealth that our family now has. For me, that means a lot, and I would love to be the person that could provide that. I love helping people. I love cooking for people. I love getting things done for people. I truly love serving people, and for me, that would be the ultimate level of service to my family, is to provide them with that sense of financial freedom. So how to bank your first $1 million? Step one is what gets most people. Step one seems like it's the easy thing to do. Step one is the thing that you're going to write down as you're taking notes. I hope you're taking notes as you're listening to this or watching it, maybe just a mental note. But you will easily bypass this one, but it is the most important step of the entire process. How to bank your first million, step 1. You got to commit. Now, before you just say, hey, I'm committed to making money, because in your mind you go, yeah, I want to make $1 million. That ain't a commitment. Me going, I want to get in better shape is not making a commitment. Okay? Like me sitting down and going, I want to be in great shape. That is not a commitment. Me saying, I want to be in great shape. I'm going to go out, I'm going to hire a personal trainer. I'm going to go out, I'm going to get a gym membership. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get a meal plan. I'm going to go out and I'm going to go see a doctor and get my macronutrients in my body tested and making sure that they're at optimum levels. And like that is commitment. And I'm going to go to the gym every day. Like that is when you truly make a commitment and you start moving along the path. Most people say, I want to make more money, but they fail to truly commit to it. What does that mean? What are you doing differently in your day? How does your day change? How do your weekends change? How does your free time change? How does your friends change? How does the way that you talk change? How does the way that you think change? Making a commitment isn't words, it's actions, it's things that you do. And most of the things that you do tied to commitment, they burn. You know, Grant says that a true commitment can't take place without time and money. You got to be willing to give up time, commit time to it, and you got to be willing to invest money in it. Okay? This one right here is almost always overlooked, and it's the one thing that will actually ensure that you get set up on the right track. Because number 2 is increase your income. This has to be a primary focus. Income is the biggest wealth creator, the wealth driver that you can have. If I didn't continue increasing my income every year, then the money that I have right now, the investments, the wealth, the whatever you want to call it, I wouldn't have it, okay? But let me just show you this. If you skip commitment and you just go, I want to make $1 million, I want to be a real boy. Like if you just talk the words, but then you don't commit and you move straight into increasing your income, what's going to happen here when you realize that you have to work 12 hours instead of 8 hours? What's going to happen when you realize that you have to work on Saturdays and not go to the beach or go to the bar or go hang out with your friends or watch the football game on Sunday at your buddy's house? Like when you start encountering those decisions and you have not fully committed, you will not do what's necessary to accomplish anything else that comes after that. So this truly is the most important thing that you need to do is you have to commit. And sometimes you're going to be making this commitment over and over and over again because you're going to commit and then you're going to fall out. It's like the person who commits to quitting smoking cigarettes, for example. And they commit. They do good for a couple weeks. Next thing you know, they're back on the cigarettes. Okay, sometimes. So my point is, don't get discouraged because making a commitment is really hard. Making a commitment in a relationship is hard. Like when you commit to being a better husband, like that is a big commitment. Because it's not just, yeah, I want to be a better husband. My wife and I, we try to talk a lot about our relationship and our lives and things that we can do better because we think that the communication will ultimately yield something productive and fruitful. But when I say I want to be a good husband, I fault on this, right? Like when I say, hey, I want to be a better husband, I want to commit to being a better husband, that means I need to do things now that are different than the way that I was operating before. I need to take extra steps to make extra effort. I need to make things more memorable. I need to make things more special. I need to make things more unique. I need to make things more sensual. Whatever you want to call it. Like something needs to happen. So this applies really to every area of your life, not just money. You've got to get committed. There's an abundance of people in the world who want to improve something in their life, but there's a scarcity of people who actually understand how to commit in order to make it happen. Okay? So commitment truly is the gateway to anything that you're going to want to accomplish in life. So for me, when I was on my way to banking my first million, I had to commit. I was 90 days into the job and I realized I need to commit. I wanted to quit after 90 days working for Grant. Things weren't going as fast as I wanted them to. I thought it was going to be easier. I thought I'd have an easier time connecting into a new city. I ran into a lot of obstacles and I was like, man, you know, I don't know if this is going to be it for me. But then I went back and I said, dude, have you really committed yet? Are you really all in yet? And I could honestly say that I wasn't. So I changed my whole basis of operation. Instead of showing up at the office at 8 when we opened, I showed up at 6. So that when I showed up at 6, ready to work the phones, I could call businesses at 9 a.m. on the East Coast who were just opening. And then I'd stay in the office until 7 p.m. until the offices on the West Coast closed. So I added another 4 hours in my day. That's another 20 hours a week. That's like an extra half a week of work, just Monday through Friday. And that started working. And then I said, man, I want to come in on Saturdays. So I started coming in on Saturdays. Like that's when I knew my commitment to making this thing work with Grant actually was going to happen. And things did start happening. What started happening once I got more committed is I started getting more creative with how I was thinking about how I was going to make more money and be more successful. So when I started focusing on increasing my income, things started happening. Like, number one, you got to commit. Number two, you have to be tunnel focused on your income. You have to abandon everything. Like I have no bandwidth, no time, no resources for anything except increasing my income. Now let me tell you the mistake that most people make when they get here is they look outside of the box that they are in called their J-O-B. So somebody has a job, they're making 70 grand a year. They're like, I know it's not enough money for me to bank my first million anytime soon. And I agree with you, okay? But rather than trying to find out what they could do to maximize this opportunity, or if this is the right vehicle to be in, they immediately start looking for a second flow before they have maximized the first. Now, if your first flow isn't maximized, then you have no business looking for a second flow. Now, maximized could mean if you're a salesperson in a company and there's 25 salespeople and 23 of them make more money than you, you do not need to be looking anywhere else except the mirror because there's a problem with you. Like if everybody around you is making money in your office and you're not, the problem is not the company, the problem is you. You're in a vehicle that will allow you to get where you want to go, but something is missing. Something is out. I had a call with one of our partners today. They have an event coming up. They're like, hey, we're sending a ton of traffic to the page, but it's not converting. And I said, good. That means people are interested. That means the ads are working. That means the promotion's working. But when they get to the page, they're not converting. Guess what that means? That means your page sucks. So you need to fix your page. Same thing here. If everything is right around you and people are making the kind of money you want to make, you think you need to make, you have to make in order to hit your target, then you are the problem and you need to fix that. Now, if you, conversely, are working in a company, there's 25 salespeople or 5 salespeople or 12 salespeople, whatever, and you're the top salesperson and you're making 100 grand a year or 120 grand a year and you know that there's no place else for you to go, then you might be in the wrong vehicle. And this could be a little bit of a hard conversation for a lot of people to have, but this is why you need to commit and get clear on your priorities. Because if you want to make $1 million in 4 years, which is how long it took me to make my first $1 million, if you want to make $1 million in 4 years, you've got to have income and it's got to be more than 100K. $70 grand won't do it. 100 grand won't do it. Okay, I went 80 grand, 214, 350, 408 in that ballpark in 4 years. Because what I was doing for the first 2 years is I was focusing exclusively on increasing my income. And while I was doing that, I was staying broke. So I went from, And let me just give some perspective on staying broke. When I was 21 years old, I had a job selling advertising, and I was making between 18 and 20K a month. I was living at home. My parents had no bills, okay? So I was like making money, okay? I would go to the club every weekend. I would spend thousands of dollars every week or weekend buying new clothes, buying new shoes, buying new blah, blah, blahs, going trips here, doing that there. I literally blew all my money. I was making all that money, I had no bills, and if I got to where I had 10 grand in the bank, I was like literally like, I'm like, wow, I had never had this much money in my bank account before because I spent everything. Long story short, I ended up leaving that job because I was an idiot, made some bad decisions, and next thing I know, I'm like on unemployment. And I'm like, dude, I'm a total loser right now. I was smoking weed every day, making a bunch of bad decisions. But I was like, I went from, wow, everybody's like, how are you making so much money at such a young age, to, dude, you're a loser on unemployment. So I went from having money to having no money, and I was like, dude, I was such an idiot. If I could have done this differently, that differently, if I didn't do this, if I wouldn't have gone to Vegas and spent 5 grand on this, if I wouldn't, like I started going through all those bad decisions that I made thinking, man, if I would have just made a little bit of a shift through all of those decisions, man, I might actually have some money in the bank right now and I wouldn't be broke having to make decisions between like the day that I could actually go shopping on based on when a check came in the mail. It was the worst feeling ever. So for me, I knew I never wanted to go back there. I knew for sure, I was like, I can never go back to that point. So, and I was living at the time, I was living off of like freaking no money practically. So when I started making money, this part for me was like, I started making a little bit of money. I was like, dude, this is going into a sacred account. I am not touching this. I slept on an air mattress for the first year and a half that I worked for Grant. I got to the point where I was making probably 10 grand a month and I was still sleeping on an air mattress. And I still hadn't bought a car yet. And I got to the point, the way my comp plan worked is I was making 10 grand a month recurring. It was residual income. So that means every month, even if I didn't sell anything, I was gonna make 10 grand, okay? It took a while to get up to that point, but once I got there, I was like, dude, I am staying broke. I kept putting everything I possibly could away. I was driving my mom's busted ass Lexus that would I literally driving down the road and all of the lights in the car would just shut off. And the gauges would fall down, the car would shut off, the wheel would lock up, and I'm like trying to start this thing going down Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills from Brentwood. Man, that little car. So I was like super disciplined with this. And even to this day, I don't spend as much money as I could. Because I know that if I can stay broke, I can accumulate more money faster. So if you can increase your income and slow down the rate at which your money leaves your bank account, you can make more money faster, okay? Now, I'm not talking just saving to save. Like, this is saving with a purpose. And so I would make choices on when I would, what shirts needed to be dry cleaned and which ones really didn't. I had to iron them. On, where I went grocery shopping, or how I shopped, or how I went to lunch, or whatever. I started making all kinds of decisions because I wanted to stay live as broke as I possibly could, so that I could pack away as much money as possible, so that I could actually magnify the income increases that I was making. So as these things are all happening for you, like you've made the true commitment, and again, you'll know when you make a commitment because it's gonna be uncomfortable for you. It'll be uncomfortable for you because you'll probably lose some friends, you're probably gonna have to give some things up, If it's not painful, I promise you haven't committed to the degree that you need to in order to get you where you want to go in anything. You've got to get to that point. Number 2, increase your income. So you got to focus, laser focus on the vehicle that you're in and how to maximize it. Again, if you're at the top of the food chain in your business, there's a chance that you could be in the wrong vehicle. If you're not making, if you're not the highest earning producer in your company, then there's still room for you to grow. And that's a big mistake people make, is they jump too soon. So number 3, once you start increasing your income, you're committed, you're increasing your income, you got to stay broke and you got to pack everything away. I remember I was packing, I got to 100K in probably, I guess, a year and a half. Maybe a little bit longer than that. I was like so frugal. Like I could squeeze a freaking dime and 2 nickels would come out of it. Like, because I was so tight, okay? And then what I started doing is I started focusing on this. I started focusing on skill. I started focusing on getting better. While I was still staying committed to my first million, while I was focused tunnel vision, like, sorry guys, can't go out, sorry, can't do this, sorry, I'm not drinking here, sorry, I'm not spending money to go out to the thing there, sorry, I can't go to Coachella this time around. Like, I was stone cold focused on that. And then at the same time, I was sleeping on an air mattress, shopping at Trader Joe's, like figuring out how I could get my entire grocery bill for the week less than $100. And then the final thing that I was doing was I was focusing on getting better. I was doing that with Cardone University. That's something that every single person has access to. You know, a lot of people think that, hey, you work with Grant, he probably coached you, he mentored you. Dude, I barely saw him. Like, he still was going through his whole 10X shift, and he officed out of his house. So he wasn't in the office every day when we lived in LA. He was still involved in everything that was going on, but he was not in the office every day like he is here. He comes in every day now. So I didn't have him over my shoulder mentoring me and coaching me and guiding me. I had Cardone University. And so in my mind, I was like, if he took everything that he knows and he dropped it into Cardone University, then I need to get all up in that. Like, I need to go up in cracks and crevices of that program that a lot of people don't even know about. Because if he put all of what he knows in that program, then I have to get so good that I literally know the words that are coming out of his mouth before he says them. And that was my goal. The product I was selling, I could do the entire demo over the phone without having the program in front of me. I could call out segments of content. I could direct people to segments of content in the platform by name of 800 segments, telling them where to click, here to go. Oh, that course is in this section in this course, and all you got to do is click bling, 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 bling to get there. Like, I knew the program in and out because I got obsessed about it. So then I had to put all that to work now. Right? Cardone University, we sell for 10 grand to individuals. You can get it today for $97 a month. If you don't do that, then you truly are not committed. If you're not committed enough to spend $100 to get the same exact thing that I did that made me millions, like this isn't just an N right there at the end of million, there's an S on there now for me because I did this. And you have access to something that most people didn't have 5 years ago. The only people that had access to Cardone U 5 years ago were companies that were spending $30K a year. And now you can get it for $97 a month. So if you can't find the $97, then you need to borrow it. And you need to go borrow a new $97 every month until you can afford to pay for it, until you get your skill up to the point where you can actually pay people back and start making money. But you need to do whatever you possibly can. Dude, you could even get a free trial right now. You can get a free trial if you go to cardoneu.com. You can get a 14-day free trial. But let's just be real. Nothing's going to happen in 14 days. You're going to feel inspired. You're going to feel motivated. But a true commitment, 14 days and a free trial. What are the qualifiers of a commitment? It has to be uncomfortable. It has to be painful. Dude, I'm not going to get a six-pack in 14 days at the gym. Okay. You're going to come, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to be like, hey, yo, those machines look good, those girls look good over there. I mean, when I was single, this is how I do it. You know, I'd be like, yeah, that all looks good over there. And then I'd be like, okay, this is the place for me, and then I'd go all in. Okay? So most of you, unfortunately, are missing this. This is the thing that you're missing. Commitment. 10X commitment. Yeah. Most of y'all are missing that. That's where, if you're frustrated and you're not getting where you want to go, I promise you, you're getting stuck at number one. Like, probably 95% of the people that want to make $1 million bucks, that don't have it yet, that are watching this right now, are stuck at step one. Because you think you're making a commitment, but you're operating off of a weak foundation. You're operating off of a false commitment because you haven't done the two things that are required to make a commitment valid. Commit time, commit money. So like Cardone University, if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber to it, then you need to go sign up right now. It's $97 a month. You can actually get a deal on it if you prepay for it for a year. I think it's $700 or $695 or something like that. Just pay for the full year. Just commit. Like, just set the intention. For the next year, I'm going to commit on increasing my income, staying broke, and using Cardone University every single day to get me there. I promise you, if you do that, I guarantee you, if you, ironclad guarantee right here, you're watching this show right now, okay? And how are we going to track this? What's your email?
Kelvin@grantcardone.com.
Kelvin@grantcardone.com. Kelvin @grantcardone.com. If you are ready to take this challenge that I will issue you here today, this is exclusively for the people that are on the show right now that are watching this show. Email Kelvin, not Kevin, Kelvin @grantcardone.com, Kelvin. Sign up for the year, $697 for Cardone University today through Kelvin. Email him, okay? The next 12 months you use that program. If you haven't increased your income significantly, if you haven't 20x'd your $697 investment, I'll refund you the $697. And here's what I'm willing to do. If we get 6 months into this deal, Kelvin's going to keep track of this. He's going to keep track of everybody that fills out for this. If 6 months into the deal, nothing's happening to you, dude, I'll get on the phone with you and I'll make sure that you get results with it.
Whoa, wow. Whoa.
That's how stone cold, I got zero extra time for anything. That's how confident I am that this works. That I'm willing to give you the thing that I have very little of, which is time, to help you get on track to do this. And I know, Cardone, you can do it. And I'm telling you because it's done it for me. And I'm telling you because there's 140 people in this office who use it, whose lives have been changed because of it. And we have thousands, tens of thousands of customers around the US and around the world that are using the same program to get the same results. So if you haven't taken action yet, like, you need to commit and part with $697. If you can't do the full $697, do $97. I promise you, it'll change the game for you. Because once you get to here and you start moving down the road, like, it all ends with ability. You know, we have people in this office that want to do more that don't have the ability to do it yet. You know, this environment in this office creates a ton of, like, people that want to reach up and people that want to do better and people that want more, but you don't just get that. You have to earn it, right? Like, a lot of people want to come be salespeople for us on the sales team. Like, people that could go and be a salesperson somewhere else and do well. But here it's a different deal. So if you can't fill that chair back there, it's because you haven't made it all the way down here to where you're adding skill and you're improving your skill to the degree that we're like, you're going to kill it. We just had one of our guys, Marcelo, that moved from client performance into the sales department. Marcelo's been with us for probably maybe 4 years, I think. 2 years? Man, it seems like it's been longer than that. Yeah, almost 3 years. He wanted to be a salesperson from day one. We said, dude, you're not ready. And he kept coming at it, and he kept doing this the whole time. And so after 3 years, we pulled him into the sales department because he stayed committed to adding skill and getting better at what he was doing and going all in every single day. So it won't happen overnight. Like, it won't happen overnight. I can guarantee you that. But I can guarantee you that when it happens, you're going to look back and go, that took no time. It's the craziest thing in the world. Like, looking back now, I'm like I just calculated it. I got $2.3 million invested in Cardone Capital. That will be worth 3 or 4 times that in the next 10 years, maybe sooner. And I continue to increase my income, and I continue to invest more and put more money away because I haven't stopped the cycle. Because what happens is when you get to $1 million, you're going to be like, it ain't enough yet. It ain't enough to give you what you really want. The reason you start chasing millions is not because you want things, it's because you want freedom. And you're going to realize, like, as you start becoming more aware of money, which is what happens when you go from 40K, to 400K, you become much more aware of what things cost and what it'll take to live the life that you want. Because you have more awareness, you're more connected to money, you're more connected to people that have money. You start seeing people that have 3 million that think they're safe and then they end up going bust. You see people that have 3 million in the bank and then the economy pulls back or their company closes down because somebody tries to sue them that they don't want to get into a lawsuit with. And then next thing you know, you're like, man, that ain't enough money. So again, it's not for things. I wrote a check for Cardone Capital that could have bought a brand new Lambo. I wrote a check for it, but instead of a car, I bought an apartment that's going to send me a check every month because I know that I want freedom. I don't want things. So it's a simple thing. It's not complicated, but you really do have to follow the 4 steps. You have to commit. You have to increase your income. You have to do whatever you can. You have to stay broke. And then you have to get better. You have to continue to get better. If you stop learning, if you stop educating, if you stop doing all those things, you're never going to get better and you're going to plateau really soon. You're going to get to probably 150 to 180, maybe 200 grand, and then you're going to plateau because you're not getting better. You're not increasing your depth of understanding. You're not becoming a practitioner of multiple things within the company. Like as I've grown within the company, I've had to do more than just sell. Like then you have to be strategic, and then you have to manage, and then you have to try to do this operations thing, and then you have the people component, and then like there's all these things that start happening that you have to get good at all of them. Do we have colors? Yeah. The lines are loaded, so I apologize for not getting to you guys sooner, but who do we got?
We have Tyler from New Hampshire.
Tyler, what's going on, man? Thanks for calling the show.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, what's your question, man?
Yes, my question is, for someone that's just turning 25 years old, they already went into an investment property, filed for bankruptcy, failed miserably. What would you say the best bet is on how to get into it the smart way, a second chance?
Yeah, so it sounds like you tried to get a rental property, it went backwards, and you lost money. Is that what you said?
Amen, yes.
Okay, so the way that I avoided that, and this option was available to me, Grant didn't let me invest with him until I had 100K. I had to have 100K cash before he would let me invest with him. And because I worked with him, and it wasn't a public fund, it was a different thing than Cardone Capital is right now, because of the way that the money is raised. But he wanted me to get to 100K because that way he knew that I could make money and that I could keep it and that I wasn't going to be worried about this 100K, okay? Like I got to the point where if I lost the entire 100K, which would never happen in the types of deals he's buying, if I lost that 100K, then I'd be okay, okay? And I wouldn't need to call him and be like, hey, yo, I need my 100K back. So the thing that people do, that Tyler did, is what they want to do is they want to go from point A to point B fast. And so what they do is they increase the risk of loss the closer in proximity A gets to B. So if your risk factor is a 20 there, here it may be a 10, and here it may be a 5. To where the further out you are from getting from where you want to go to where you want to be, the risk decreases the more time you can give it. So for me, what I would do now is I would take whatever money you can start packing away in whatever increments and start packing it into Cardone Capital. Let me tell you what that first 100K I put in with Grant did for me. That deal has paid me about $900 a month for 6 years. So what's this? 9 times 12 is 10,800 times 6, 60, 42. So what's that?
I got you.
64,
4,800.
800.
Yep.
Okay. So just in cash flow over the last 5 years, 6 years, that deal's paid me $64,000 in cash flow. Okay. About 9 months after we bought this deal, Grant went back because it was a good deal and the value of the property increased. So he went back to the bank and said, hey, this deal isn't worth $50 million anymore. It's worth 65 or whatever the actual numbers were. So I want to refinance it at 65 and I want to pull my $15 million in equity out. So what that meant for me was I got $30,000 of my initial investment back. So now I only had I only had $70K in the deal. I took this $30K and I put it into another deal. Okay? So now I've got $30K of my initial investment back. Then what happens is that deal continues to pay over time. And then last year, I posted this online. Last year, that property refinanced again because it wasn't worth $65 million anymore. It was worth $105 million. These aren't the actual numbers, but I'm just trying to give you an idea. So he goes back to the bank and says, hey, I want to refinance it at its new value of $105 million, and I want to pull the $40 million of equity out. So then he came to me after he did this and he said, hey, here's a check for $214,000. By the way, this and this, I didn't pay any taxes on because they were refinances. Still own the deal. How much money did I initially put into it? 100K?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I've pulled out of that deal since I bought it 6 years ago, about 400K to JG. This makes me happy. So that was my initial investment, and that's been my total cash out return. Guess what? Still own the deal, still get the $900 a month. So I had time. I knew that I was committed to time. And you all have the same access to these deals that I did. And in fact, because Grant has the Regulation A fund now, you guys have access at a much lower buy-in than I did. So my answer to your question, Tyler, is if you can commit time and just say, hey, I'm going to be committed to this investing thing over time, then you have the opportunity to participate in those refinances and in the upside appreciation, and you get paid monthly for waiting. And again, your risk tolerance is really low. Now, not every deal works out like that, and you have to do all your own research if you're going to make an investment of that kind. But that's what I would tell you. Now, while I did that, because I didn't buy a house to flip or wholesale or anything like that, I could focus on the main thing. My main thing was Cardone. So while I've been banking money, increasing income, staying broke, being committed, doing all that, adding skill, I was focused on the main thing. Hope that helps. Next caller.
So the next caller that we have is Christian from Dallas.
Christian, what's going on, man? Thanks for calling.
Hey, what's up, boss man? It's Christian from Dallas. Yeah, happy to be on.
Love to have you here. Love to have you here today, man. What's your question?
Hey, man, quick question, man. I'm out here in Dallas trying to start a jewelry business, and you know what? I made mistakes growing up. No one taught me what the hell credit was, and me and my brother are slowly saving to get to the place we want to be. Question is pretty much for someone that doesn't have credit and is can get around people that have some, I guess, type of investment capital? What do you recommend on how to approach it or which way to approach it?
Well, number one, I'll tell you that when people say cash is king, there's some different definitions of that. When you're talking about your credit score, cash is king. Because if you have a 480 FICO score, but you can go and put 90% down, or better yet, don't even take a loan out and just pay cash for it. Like, it don't matter what your credit score is. Grant doesn't need credit right now. Like, he's in a deal where it's just, his deal is just different. You know, I had a guy that used to buy motorcycles from me. He was a realtor. He had terrible credit. But he'd come in and he'd put 85% down. And the bank would give him some crazy ass interest rate, and he'd pay the interest rate because he's trying to rebuild his credit. Right? So number one is, if you have bad credit, don't really matter. Just make more money, put more cash into the deal, and you'll be able to get approved. And I would just tell investors that, you know, that just be straight up with them. You know, don't hide things from people. Just get your pitch down, figure out the value prop, make sure they see what's in it for them, and you know, and just roll, dude. Like, you know, I made bad decisions in my past too. That doesn't mean I'm going to make them my whole life. Everybody's made bad decisions, and they're probably going to make more of them.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? So you know, if you get the right person and you're genuine, and you show them what you're going to do to make sure that you pay them back, or you make sure that the loan is the loan is paid back and there's no issues, then, you know, you just got to get your pitch down. You got to get a pipeline. I mean, never rely on one person. If you're getting nervous about it, it's because your pipeline is too skinny. You need to be like, dude, I got a big pipeline.
Absolutely.
If you're feeling
Absolutely,
rejection,
man.
we talked about this last week, if you're feeling rejection, if you're feeling losses, if you're feeling failures, it's because you don't have a big enough pipeline. So it's a simple solution. Just make more phone calls, talk to more people, like get more activity, get more deals working. Because the wider you go, the less you feel like, oh man, that was the one guy, that was the perfect person. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I'm on day-to-day salesman, man. Still got a 9-to-5, and I'm doing this on the side, trying to, you know, become independent or financially free. So, you know, this information definitely helps a lot, man. And if you, I don't know if y'all got an email or something, or you know, I want to send you guys some custom 10x sterling silver necklaces, you know, to a couple of your sales guys. Maybe you could pass them out as prizes or something.
Yeah, dude, I love that. Email Kelvin at grantcardone.com, Kelvin. Email him. We'll get them done for. We'll do a sales contest. I think we just gave a Mont Blanc pen away yesterday. We love inventive incentives is what we call them. We got more calls?
We got one more.
One more? Who do we got?
So we got Nick from France.
Nick from France. What's going on, Nick? Welcome to the show.
Oui.
Yes, hello, Jared. Nicholas here.
Nicholas,
Taking
what's
my call,
happening,
man.
bro?
Yeah, pretty good, man. Nice, south of France, enjoying the summer.
Love it. I bet you are. I keep seeing all the celebrities posting pictures from the south of France.
There you go, man. Hey, Jared, really quick. So 2 points, actually. I know you don't have much time. So 2 points, actually, on our sales process. Right now, I'm working with this fintech startup. We are working on financial markets for institutional investors. And we are trying to sell our new solution. So it's called Quantilia, and it's actually for investors to make better decisions. The thing is, we are talking here to bankers, portfolio managers, etc., and they're kind of touchy when it comes to financial market data and solutions. And I've been doing the hustle. I've been listening to you guys. It's working a lot for the lead generation. And so my 2 questions are, first, my managers, they are only relying right now on cold calling. So it's going great, we're getting better, but how can I convince them that we can also do other things, you know, like more digital marketing or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, convincing your managers of something like that is always a challenging thing to do, you know, because, I mean, if you have a good manager, hopefully they're open to new ideas and they're opening to listening. You know, we always are. That doesn't mean we're going to do anything, but we're always open to hearing about it. So I'd continue to make a case for it, like bring more data, bring more information, They may like the cold call because they don't have to spend money on an ad to get a cold call done, and for some of those, depending on what you're selling, the marketing of a product like that is really tough because the person you're trying to sell it to is so targeted and so niche. So, I would continue to do what you're getting paid to do, get great at that, and get so good at it that they're like, hey, what are you doing different? How can we improve this or that? Results speak. So if you're the top person in the office, when one of our top sales guys comes in and they say, hey, I got an idea about something, then I'm like, okay, well, let's try to figure out a way to make it work. Because the results, the statistics that they have going up, that's what gets them the credibility, So I would tell you, focus on becoming the top producer by a mile, like a long way or kilometer, I think in France. Focus on being the top producer by a long way, and that will get you in the room. That will get you into more conversations, and ultimately what that'll do is that'll pull you into a different leadership role. So I hope that helps.
Excellent.
One more?
Nope.
Good to go. All right, guys, so how to become a millionaire, how to make your first $1 million. 4 simple things. Don't overcomplicate it. If anybody tells you it's more complicated than this, they're lying to you, because it ain't. You got to commit. You got to focus on increasing your income every single day. How am I going to make more money? Who's got my money? Once you get that money, you got to stay broke. Like I had 4 or 5 shirts that I wore for 2 years. I never bought clothes. Like I remember when I had finally bought like my first new suit. I think I wore an H&M suit for one suit for like 2 years, and then I would wear the jacket some days. I was trying to switch it up. So I was like, okay, I got 1 suit, I got 4 or 5 shirts, and I got some dark jeans that almost look like slacks. How many different combinations can I make up? Because I was trying to stay broke while I was increasing my income. And I was willing to ditch the ego in order to do that. I hate to bring this back up again because I'm not trying to be boisterous about it, but dude, I wrote a $200,000 check last week into the Cardone Capital Fund that's getting ready to close. So if you haven't invested yet, you still have a little bit of time to do it, but it will close out probably within the next week or so. When I wrote that check, I was just like, because in my mind, I want to get a turbo Porsche, a 911 Turbo S so bad. I've wanted one for probably 3 years. My buddy got one, and then he got a GT3, and I was just like, man, I want that car so bad. And I was literally writing that check going, man, I could have bought that car with that check. But I'm trying to stay broke for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. Stay broke because you're making investments in things that are going to make you money. Don't stay broke because you're trying to buy things that will make you look cool. And then number 4, you got to get better at what you do. You constantly have to be educating yourself. You got to be getting better. You got to be learning. You got to be getting connected with people who know more than you do, and just improving your ability to make an impact and produce. And if you do those 4 things, you will be well on your way to banking your first million. We'll see you next week, folks. Thanks for being here. And remember, the only people who condemn the hustle are the ones who've already given up on the hustle themselves.